here's a prominently in society company supported by the LGBT, very open with that, coming out with an ad where people are freaking out. Have you seen the ad?
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
Okay, so I want to give my perspective, then I want to hear your guys' perspective. And I'm so excited because I'm so excited. Okay, so first parent perspective. Listen, my oldest I call my little monkey. Okay, so if I saw a hoodie like that, I'd be like, oh my gosh, that would be so cute for my daughter. You know? And she's always loved Curious George, still carries around a Curious George, calls it her haha. You've seen it. You know, I mean, it's this ratty thing. It's got a string. We call it the goatee. It's got a little string hanging out, you know. We can maybe wash it once a month if we're lucky, if we can get it out of the hand, you know. And like, so when I saw that ad for the first time, trying not to, you know, get what people were talking about it out of my head, I was like, that's a really cute sweatshirt. I get where it's trying to go with that. But on the flip side, perspective of a guy who wants the world to not, and we've talked about this, not care about the meaning of words, except for my big three, right? Yeah. And to me, monkey is a derivative of the N-word, for me. Yeah. Because there's nursery rhymes that I sing my kids, like 10 monkeys jumping on a bed. The original word wasn't monkeys in that, you know, catch a tiger by his toe. The original word wasn't tiger, right? So like, for me, it's almost like subliminal messaging, like a little wink, like, hey, we still know inequality. We still know that racism exists here, you know. Or was it innocent because it's a Swedish company and they saw a cute kid and put a sweatshirt on him?
Yeah. It's one of those weird things. Like you mentioned the derivative nature of monkey. It is like right after then where that's what it was when it was like, all right, well, we can't say it on TV now.
It still is. Didn't an owner or like a business guy get like fired for getting recorded saying monkeys?
Probably.
You know what I mean? It's something like that.
I know for a fact that porch monkeys is a huge negative, you know, word in the South.
Derogatory term, yeah. And I would say that a big thing about it is, you know, like the innocent nature of it is one of those things. Like I saw a comment where somebody mentioned at this point, ignorance isn't kind of pretty much allowed, I guess, at this point. Like, especially with a company that is international. It's not like, you know, it's just a Swedish-based company or just because it was, I believe they said like the pictures and stuff that was done in the UK. I believe that's what I heard. But it's one of those things where it's like, you know, that's especially, you know, like I said, international company. That's the sort of thing you do have to know. And it's not like people, even in other countries, people know the history of the US because that's like a big deal where it's like, it ain't that great, you know, if you go back a little bit. So that's actually like, you know, really well known. So that ignorance of it is like somebody should have just been like, maybe, even if it's, you know, like you said, even if it's done innocently.
But then, where do we draw the line? I mean, that, and I'm not saying that it was right or wrong or, you know, whatever, but like, when are we going to stop letting that word have power? I mean, because that's the point, right? Because if it would have said tiger or jack, we wouldn't even be talking right now. We wouldn't even be talking about it.
But
or if it was not a kid of color.
Yeah,
because the thing is, I heard a lot of the conversation that was being had, and it was two kids in a photo shoot. It was a white kid and a black kid. I forget the total name of the apparel, but somebody's argument was, if you look at the white kid's hoodie and you look at the black kid's hoodie, if you'd have just switched hoodies, somebody just been like, oh, this is some bullshit, let's just do that, and you know, maybe people won't, then that would have been an option, because he said, I think his didn't allude to anything with monkey, but it had jungle in it or something like that.
Yeah, like jungle hunter, it sounds like that, yeah.
So, but let's look at it this way. Let's look at it totally, completely objective, because we really want to get down to the bottom of this. We don't want to say that. Let's look at not only context, but intention, all right? From a corporation standpoint, okay? We have this clothing line, and a t-shirt says, what does the t-shirt say? Coolest monkey in the jungle?
Yeah.
There you go. So,
cutest, I think.
Yeah.
Something
cutest
like that.
or coolest, yeah. It's one of those.
Yeah, I think it was coolest.
I think it was. I think it was coolest.
Anyway,
I got girl brain. I mean, that's all I have is daughters, so like.
Oh, if only say cutest monkey in the jungle. I'm so getting it.
Coolest just isn't part of my vocabulary, you know?
Clearly not. But yeah, you know, it says what it says. And let's just take it from a standpoint of they were being pure intention. They weren't trying to send something out, wink, wink. Let's see if we can get this through. Let's just say it was a hoodie. We had two kid models, one's black, one's white. Let's say that. You have a photographer in the room. You have people with lights in the room and set people and producers and people like that. And everybody's looking at this sweater. You see what I'm saying? Everybody's looking, okay, there's a pretty black kid, very melanin heavy kid with a sweater or a hoodie that in some context has monkey on it. You can kind of look at that, okay. A lot of people in the room may look at that like, okay. And then those photos have to go to editors who stare intently at these photos and say, okay. But hold on, let's switch.
And at that point, I think it's too late.
Let's switch the context.
Yeah, because then you gotta get the models back out. Then you gotta pay the photographer again.
But think about it. If they had one smart person in their whole thing, they might say, hey, this could lead to something huge.
Yeah.
So maybe we may want to go through the trouble of doing that because it won't destroy our brain. But let's look at it this way. Because I'm gonna switch the perspective just so I can see what maybe I would do in that situation. I thought about this. So here we go. Let's say I have a clothing line, you see, and I sell food or something. Right. And I just so happen to do a model search and I get some white models or whatever. And I'm pushing my crackers. You see what I'm saying? I think people see where I'm going with this. So I say,
but that's the thing. Like, that's the thing. That's what pisses me off the most. Is the headline wouldn't be, oh, they used cracker. The headline would be fastest growing restaurant or food company in the whole thing because they run around with white models calling them crackers. Ha 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 ha.
Well, you don't think some Breitbart people or some alt-right people?
Well, yeah, but who listens to those crazy motherfuckers? I'm just saying, like.
Millions of people.
Well, fair enough. They elected a president.
Just the president. Who else? Who else? Listen to these guys. Come on now, let's get serious.
No, I know. I get that, but like.
So, and it was just Black Twitter that kind of went off. I looked at it and was like, I didn't get mad. I'm just like, okay, either that was a mistake or that was somebody being, a dick. Yeah. And just thought people was going to look past it, which, maybe some people feel like they should. But let's look at context. See, a lot of things we could really try. And you know who's really big on this? Morgan Freeman. That's why I don't really like him as an actor. He pushes the narrative, look, let's never, ever, ever talk about race ever. If I had a wife and I beat her ass, and I say, you know what, I'm not doing it anymore, I'm sorry. And let's say I just beat her ass like a day ago. And, I'm right, and she flinching because I'm trying to grab the remote. Let's never talk about this ever. She might, maybe I just want to make sure you're never going to hit me again. Let's just talk about it one more time.
That's where we're at in this. Where
are we at?
Okay, so your analogy is that you beat your wife, right? Okay.
Or let's not just even once, because if we put it in the context of slavery, I used to beat the fuck out of my wife.
Okay, all right.
For years.
Fine, for years, whatever.
And one day we stopped.
And sold her and bought her back.
Right.
Okay, because you missed her. I get it. All right. Now let's put it in this perspective. The 60s and the 70s was the wife talking about getting a lawyer, fighting back, not trusting, not wanting to do anything.
The civil rights.
Not wanting, fighting back, saying, you know what, you did beat me, and I deserve something for that. You got to show me more than just I'm sorry, I'm free now. Fuck you. I want more. This isn't fair. You're still treating me like a second-class citizen, right? Like, we'll take your analogy even further. You don't beat her every day now, you just beat her on Tuesdays. Right? Because you guys were free, but you had separate water, you had separate schools, we tried to dumb you down. That's how it was, right? So then the 60s and the 70s came, and you're like, no, I need a full apology, blah, blah, blah. Then the 80s came, and it really came to front, right? Where it's like, listen, I deserve you. I deserve equality, right? Okay? Then the 90s came. Now we're here in 2017.
2018 now.
Yeah, 2018, and we need to be able to go, how you doing today? And that's it. How was your day? And that's what Morgan Freeman's preaching. Don't ever talk about it.
It's ignorance of it.
It's the process of what's going on. Yes, what happened was awful. And if it never happened, I wish I would do anything for that. But now it's time to go, you know what? I'm alive and I don't ever have to do that. I don't ever have to talk about it. I get to just be your friend. I get to just be a good human, and you get to be a good human. Let's start there.
And I think it's in this weird, like you said, it's like in that middle section. And I think that's why it sticks, because you have it where I think pretty much everyone, obviously not everyone, but pretty much everyone wants it to be that way. But it's almost like we talked about minorities always being on the defensive. It's almost like being stuck in that, because you know that there are the people who are racist, where it's like this could be a total accident, and then you have who knows how many people being like, this is what it should be because it's a black, like it'll be so many dumb people like
I don't see
that.
the problem. I see a monkey and a monkey sweater.
It's funny. This is the humor I was used to. Were they bringing blackface back? I hope so. Like, yeah.
We need to make more clothing like this. Yeah. I support H&M.
Yeah. And so. I think with that, that's what makes that defense. Like that's what makes that.
So this is my question. When that generation, this is morbid as fuck, but when that generation dies off, are we gonna make that next step forward?
I don't think so because there are enough people being taught by that generation still that regardless of how many people. And it's hard. I mean, definitely dwindling, but I don't know if it would be. I think it would still take at least 100 more years.
I know
honesty.
My kids.
Yeah, and you're not an a-hole though. So it's hard.
I got 4 of them. So you take, you take the percentage of kids in this area. I'm at 85% of the neighborhood.
Wow.
So. But no, like I just. Am I just too hopeful? Like, am I just naive and stupid that I think one day we're all just gonna be able to hold hands and drink a Coca-Cola?
I think
first of all, we're gonna be drinking Pepsi. So yes, you are naive. No, but I get what you're saying, but yeah, I mean, this is the thing. You can't. I know it definitely looks. We gotta look beyond the surface. It looks like stuff is dying down because a lot of us black people know racism, white supremacy is still here. A lot of it is covert. We look at statistics. There's more white people and black people in the country, but there's way more black people locked up. You're either gonna look at that as a coincidence. You're gonna look at it as black people just do more crime, and that can segue into the Steve Bannon war on weed thing. Where you try to make laws that
right. And I'm not saying that things aren't still really fucked up, but we're talking about black people being in prison more than white people and having a less population here. We're trying to do something about it. We're being more aware. There's more stuff helping out the inner city, and there's more things.
Who's trying to do what?
Make things more equal. And maybe it is the media. Maybe they take one story that happened for the whole year, and that's what they plaster, and maybe I'm part of the mind control. I don't know. But I know when my dad was our age, nobody talked about shit like that.
Yeah, it just didn't matter.
Right. Yeah. And now it does. So, like, that's progression, right?
Absolutely. And, like I was saying, as far as the concept of, happiness and equality, I do think it'll happen. I just don't think that it'll happen anytime soon. Unfortunately, I would love that, but I really don't think it'll be like the next generation. I think it would take a few more, honestly, just because of
so do you think you'll ever see it?
That's really hard to say. I think it would honestly depend on, I'll say, like, my cousin's growing up now. I'm 13 years older than the oldest, so he's like, in middle school now. That generation, I think it's possible to definitely see some more steps forward, but I don't think it would be until like when maybe I had like
grandkids.
Yeah, or maybe his kids, or maybe just his kids. Like if I live long enough to have great grandkids, maybe I'd start to see it then, or at least be like, okay, I might not see it myself, but I can tell soon it'll be at that point. But I don't think that we'll actually see it like we wanted to. I don't think that we will, unfortunately, because there's just so many.
I mean, you never get what you want, but if you try, sometimes you get what you need, right? I mean, because while you were talking about that, I was thinking about the Butler and like conversations I've had 10 years ago and stuff like that. 20, when I was like 15 and stuff, and we had a black president.
Yeah,
we have gay officials.
There was a movie made on a black president by Chris Rock, head of state, and that was like the joke.
That was the joke. Yeah, is that he was that was the other movie where he was the fat rich guy. What movie was that?
I have no idea.
It's Heaven.
I know you're talking about.
Yeah, God, that movie's so funny.
That was
Who's in it?
It's a Chris Rock movie.
At his peak.
It was a movie where he died and came back and was a white rich man.
I don't remember the name of that movie either, but I know. What you're talking about
so
now.
But anyway, like, the military just came out and said transgender people could be open and do this. Like, we are progressing, and we're progressing a lot faster than we did 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
And I think you know, like I was saying, that I think that definitely does come from most, if not all, of the next generation being better people than the last.
Perfect example. Sure. Where we started the show at. People freaking out of all races, ages, genders, sexual preference, wanting a black woman to be their president, to guide them. That's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing to me.
Yeah, and it's definitely, I mean, leagues beyond 50 years ago. And that's not that long, you know, that seems forever, but that's not that long ago.
My dad lived in that era.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
still here today, so
yeah,
seen it.
Yeah, so it's like, it is, you know, like you said, it's definitely leaps and bounds. It's just that you have almost like this, you know, like the hidden sect of people that are like that, where, you know, the big thing, like when Trump, like the day after he got elected.
Let me go farther. Like, this is weird, but like, I always thought, like, if you put all the kinds of government on a piece of paper and write it down and what it truly means, to me, communism was always, I'm like, you share stuff.
Everybody, yeah.
So like, you go to the doctor, he looks at you, and then like, you cook him food, or you fix his car, or you know, that's essentially, in a nutshell, how it works. And you're like, man, that's brilliant. Why don't we do that?
Money.
Money and well, that people are completely different. I'd be okay with being a doctor and fixing people up if they gave me a meal and all that stuff. I could give a shit if, you know, I've got a Gucci bag and all that stuff. I could care less. But the person standing next to me is like,
that's not
no, that's not me. I want a Lamborghini, and to do that, I have to be a doctor. So we have to present, you know, better jobs or whatever, and have like this weird thing. And I'm almost afraid that that's what equality is. Sounds great on paper, sounds great in theory, but it'll never work because there's always one person or two people
and that's all it takes.
Who are like, they're different, I don't like them.
And usually those people, at least in this context of America, have a lot of control.
Yes.
Have a lot of control and a lot of backdoor dealings. Like, sometimes a lot of the stuff that go on in the news, I look at it, I do look at it on the surface, I look at how people react to it, and I look at what's going on behind the doors. Like, for instance, just to wrap up the H&M stuff, because I want to get into some conspiracies. But, you know, I really had to look at this, because I'm not just one person that's going to look at it, get angry or whatever. I'm actually really logical in my thinking. So when I seen it, you got a you know, little black boy in a hoodie that say monkey. I either say, hey, there are either some white supremacists behind the scene and like, look, let's slip this through and let's see it, whatever, you know, it's gonna be our little joke. Or it was just a complete total accident. Somebody, you know, they just, maybe people that was around there had forward thinking minds. They're like, well, you know, we in a time where this is not really a big deal. That's an accident. So that's why I wasn't one of the people to kind of go on the attack. I'm just more so like, well, what really is going on behind the scenes? Because I am one of those people who like to dive deep in what the powers that be are doing. You know, if you want to say, because let's keep it real, this is not a democracy. You know what I'm saying? People do not decide, they don't even decide the president. Majority of people voted for Hillary Clinton. And then just found out what the Electoral College was. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think they got mad, like, we need to impeach
Trump. There's a Key and Peele skit about that, where they were talking about, they did like a fake voting commercial. It was like, yeah, because my vote matters. It's like, well, actually your vote goes into the Electoral College, and then it's based on this and this. It's like, what? Like, that was the whole skit, was that
one of my favorite skits to show that. Like how ignorant people are,
how stupid they are. I'll say it for you.
Is when they explain the Affordable Care Act and just called it the Affordable Care Act and said, okay, would you choose Obamacare? The Affordable Care Act. Yeah. They're like, oh, the Affordable Care Act, it sounds so good. Yeah. Bitch, they're the same thing.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's when another light bulb went off, where it's like, damn.
These
people know. Yeah. Well, no, not don't try, but the government like and the people that know how to market. Sure,
You know, they're like another thing to that point, Mr. Fantastic. When they were talking about the net neutrality thing, even some guy on YouTube pointed this out. They called it the Obama era regulation.
Yeah.
If you do your research, it's kind of been in place before Obama. It just wasn't called net neutrality. But to get people to feel a way about it, because they know it's a whole group of people that's just like, Obama, what? Get rid of that. Get rid of Obamacare. You know? That's an Obama regulation. Fuck net neutrality. I don't want free internet. Like, you know.
I get raped for cable. Might as well be internet too.
Yeah.
I got one more hole.
Tell him, brother.
But no homo. Give me that Bud Light, please. Did you pick up the McDonald's?
Here you go. No, you know, that's just how it is. People know how to insert these little trigger words to make you feel a disposition towards whatever, and it could be
right back to personal. I mean, that goes right back. They know. Oh, it just.
It's a cycle. It's a cycle that we're trying to break, and we're doing a great job at it. It's still just slowly but surely. It's like demonetized.